Good day for a swell battle. And begin!
You know how a joke can start out funny, get annoying, and then become funny again through sheer attrition? That's Cuphead's approach to enjoyment. With a beautiful, caustic, near unceasing stream of boss battles, it made me scream with joy and horror by turn, but I settled on joy by the end. The most obvious point to begin with is to say that Cuphead looks astonishing. Its 1930s animation style, all watercolour backgrounds and surreal, juddering, hand-drawn characters, somehow manages to balance dozens of moving elements and a slight rear projection blur, without ever feeling unreadable in the most frantic moments. There has never been a game that looks like this, and the score and sound effects add to that out-of-time feeling perfectly. There's no doubt that it's gorgeous, and many people will be drawn to that, but that veneer conceals a very niche, ultra-hard design. It's absolutely uncompromising in its difficulty from the outset. No checkpoints, no way to regain health, and even getting help in local co-op makes things harder by cluttering the screen. Actually interacting with all that glorious art is so hectic, so stressful, that I stopped noticing it after a while. Cuphead's levels come in three types. The least common, and least interesting, is run-and-gun, left-to-right platforming drawn directly from the likes of Contra. These levels were introduced as breathers from boss battles, but feel more like a lull. The second type takes the form of bullet hell shooting. As much tests of dexterity as they are pattern learning, they're a throwback to classic treasure games, just with fewer spaceships and more angry constellations, and they slot comfortably alongside them for quality. Best of all, though, are the platforming battles. This is where Cuphead flexes its imagination most, crafting weird, often hilarious bouts that have you interacting with the controls in more and more interesting ways. From controlling where your platform's moving, to battles that feel as much like fighting games as they do shooters. Real thought's gone into not just the looks, but the mechanics of each individual fight. Some are up there with the best boss battles I've ever played. Cuphead himself is perfectly responsive and, with never-ending shots and dashes at his disposal, feels genuinely powerful when compared with other platforming heroes. With such good controls and abilities, any mistakes feel like your fault, not his, as it should be. It just so happens that he's being pitted against extremely tough opposition. Unlockable abilities offer a splash of puzzle thinking to the mix. Experimenting with them can be vital too. I only managed to beat the final boss because of a change in ammunition. The one real issue with Cuphead's abilities is the parry double jump, which due to flimsy implementation often becomes more trouble than it's worth. Beyond that, there are a couple of issues that kept me from really loving this game as much as I wanted to. A curiously chosen default controller layout and having to leave a level to change your equipped items is merely irritating, but Cuphead's use of randomization between different runs of the same battle is perhaps its worst decision. Changing attack patterns to keep things fresh is one thing, but it goes too far. Certain combinations of attacks can feel legitimately unfair, and similarly, winning a long-fought battle simply because randomization made one run much easier than the ones that came before it can make your triumph feel a little limp. Worst of all, scrolling levels with randomly placed platforms can become all but impossible through no fault of your own. It's a shame that certain levels feel less like skill tests and more like luck of the draw, but that's thankfully a rare problem. One of Cuphead's greatest strengths is that no matter how long a boss took to beat, I usually emerged feeling like a better player for the experience, and ready to bring that to the next fight. Cuphead made me feel more good and more bad than any other game I've played in years. I swore, laughed, and hollered with delight. At certain points I hated it and my own fingers, but having finished I emerged from that pain smiling. Because of that, Cuphead is incredible for more than just its looks. But before buying, make sure you want a game that plays like this, and not just a game that looks like this. If you're still undecided on Cuphead after all of that, why not check out our video of the first 8 minutes of the game? Or if you want to see more of those beautiful boss battles, you can check out every single World 1 boss defeated.